Welcome to the Chris Hanna Show, where business, as usual, gets a swift kick in the ass. If you're tired of the same old advice and ready to disrupt the status quo, you're in the right place. I'm cutting through the noise with bold strategies, unfiltered truths, and a no-nonsense approach to entrepreneurship, video marketing, and content creation. Buckle up, because it's time to level up, stand out, and dominate your market. This isn't just another podcast, it's a wake-up call for entrepreneurs and would-be aspiring solopreneurs who are all in. Let's get started. I consider myself unemployable. I said that in a podcast interview once, and it kind of stuck with me. In the moment, I was like, what the hell am I saying? But then it kind of dawned on me. I was like, okay, I've been fired twice in my career. I am somebody who's never been happy working for other people. I was miserable. I was borderline toxic. I was probably really tough to manage as well. And I realized being unemployable is not a bad thing though either. It's actually a good thing. You know, I think the word unemployable isn't an insult. I actually consider it a badge of honor. Because if you've ever felt like me, where you felt out of place in the corporate grind, you're constantly frustrated by meetings and shitty managers and mind-numbing routines, you're not broken, you're just built for more. The truth is, there are some people out there, they're not cut out for the 9 to 5. I'm one of those people, and I think that's okay. You know, in fact, it's more than okay. I think it's a sign that you're destined for true freedom. And so I think being unemployable, not feeling like you can fit in working for others, is actually one of your greatest assets. Now, I want to define first unemployable, what it means in this context too, because I think it's important. I'm not talking about being like lazy or a lack of skills. It's actually quite the opposite. Unemployable people, I think, and again, I'm biased in saying this, I think are often the smartest, most ambitious, most capable individuals in any room. Why doesn't the 9 to 5 fit for these people though? Well, again, if I take myself as an example, you know, and those who might be listening to this might resonate with this, like if you might be considered unemployable because you hate rules for the sake of rules, you know, corporate structures themselves, you know, they often prioritize hierarchy and conformity over creativity and results, and you hate that. Maybe you question everything. Like if you can't stand doing things because that's the way that we've always done it, well, you're probably not a fit for the status quo, which is most businesses. Most businesses follow the fucking status quo. You also crave autonomy. You know, the idea of someone controlling your time, controlling your income and decisions feels suffocating. There has been moments throughout my career, and again, those who are longtime listeners of this know, the word career for me means prior to starting my own business, that I felt so constrained by people and processes, and I hated the idea of someone being able to say, okay, you're only going to get a 2% raise this year. I fucking hated that stuff, and I found it suffocating to the point where like I don't even know still, like to this day, but like it's probably a reason why people kind of rub the wrong way by me, because I push back on a lot of stuff. The other reason why you might feel unemployable is that like you also value impact over busy work. Like there's so much fucking busy work that happens in the corporate world. You know, you want to create real value, not just tick boxes on a to-do list, because I feel like there was times, I can think of a lot of them too, where I just did stuff because that's what I was told to do, but it was also stuff that just didn't matter, didn't provide value in my career. And so I don't want to do that. I want to actually make a difference. You know, and if you feel any of these four that I just talked about, again, you hate rules for the sake of rules, you question everything, you crave autonomy, and you value impact over busy work, it doesn't make you a bad employee. It just means you're probably a goddamn good entrepreneur. Like, there's some downsides, I think, to the 9 to 5 life that I want to highlight. And I'm not picking on any companies in particular, but these are just general ones that I feel really apply and I can definitely speak of. You know, because being employable is romanticized, I think, for a lot of people, right? Like get a stable job, work real hard, save money, retire, you get that security, right? But here's the reality is like you're trading time for money. No matter how hard you work, your paycheck, we'll call it that, is capped. Your growth is also limited when you're working for someone else because, you know, promotions and raises are tied to office politics or processes, not your actual contributions. There were many times throughout my career where I busted my ass so much that I should have got massive raises. I provided so much value. I should have got promoted to various levels, and I didn't. It didn't matter how hard I worked. Sometimes people got positions that didn't deserve it, and sometimes I just, it didn't get what I thought I should have. The other downside to 9 to 5 life is that you're disposable. Even the most loyal employees can be laid off or fired or let go with no warning. Everybody is replaceable, and budgets change and directions and companies change, and it can mean that you find yourself no longer working for someone. That security isn't actually there. Now, of course, there's other downsides too, right? Like there's a daily grind of commuting, which I absolutely hated doing. Pointless meetings, which were infuriating, especially those fucking Friday afternoon meetings, and asking for permission to take a vacation. Early on in my career, I had a vacation planned. We were going down to Fort Lauderdale, and I had submitted the request, and I was told I was should be good. But then even the manager asked me to do something which he knew was going to take longer than it should have, and I ended up getting out of work late, even though when I had this planned vacation, and it cost me. I actually ended up missing my flight as a result of it. So it's like sometimes like the whole vacation requests can also be screwed up as a result of work that gets thrust upon you by somebody else, and that sucks. Like I absolutely hate it. So you're thinking about the word unemployable, then I want you to think about this. Embrace your inner rebel. Because if you're unemployable, chances are you felt out of place for years. I know throughout my career I did. Like if I pick on one industry that I was in the car rental industry for almost 5 years before I got fired. And I was very good at what I did. I was very, very successful. And, I could do the job really well. And I think everywhere I've went, I've been actually very successful. But I didn't feel like I was part of the culture. I didn't feel like I was part of the team. I always felt like a outsider, and that someone was going to figure it out, that I was a fraud in some way. Even though, again, I was really good at my job, it didn't feel like I could be aligned. So therefore I was miserable, right? Miserable at home, sometimes miserable at work. And it was tough. And so feeling out of place sucks, like because you're just more exhausted, you're more upset. But start thinking of it not as a flaw, but as fuel. Because being unemployable just means you're wired differently. And that's ultimately a superpower. And you got to own it. Like, stop apologizing for who you are. You don't need to fit into someone else's mold. There's many times where I got in shit at different companies that I worked with because I didn't, toe the company line. I didn't follow all the rules, or I didn't feel like this was something that made sense. So I questioned it, and I was told basically to shut up numerous times. That sucks. The other thing you got to also do is recognize your potential. Like if you're dissatisfied so much with the norm, it's probably a sign that you're meant to create something better. And I also think that you have to surround yourself with like-minded people. Like find a community of entrepreneurs who get it. Like when you find other business owners or people who want to start a business, you're going to find that those are some of the most fulfilling conversations you'll ever have. If you're just sticking around with people who are the employee mentality and you are so entrepreneurial, you're ultimately again going to feel out of place. Because you got to shift your mindset, from being unemployable and looking at it as no longer a liability, but as a huge opportunity. I think that those people who are unemployable, it also fuels entrepreneurial success, because entrepreneurs, themselves, the same traits that might make you a terrible fit for the corporate world can make you unstoppable in business. Like you are a problem solver. Instead of complaining about efficiencies, you actually find ways to create solutions. You're driven by purpose. You work harder and smarter when the stakes are personal. You're resourceful. You know how to make things happen, even with limited resources, which is really critical skill. And you're resilient. Like rejection, failure, setbacks, they don't phase you. They fuel you. So when you embrace your unemployable spirit, you unlock freedom to build life on your terms. And to me, the word on your terms was so vital and so important as part of my journey. I had been working in an organization where, again, I felt like I was not being able to operate my time, even during outside of work hours, how I wanted to. I felt like I was dictated what I could do, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to live on my terms. I wanted to enjoy my life, and that's part of why I ultimately decided to walk away. You know, feeling like a corporate misfit to moving to become an entrepreneurial maverick is tough. It's a tough transition, and it might feel to some like you're stepping off a cliff. The thing is, here's what you gotta remember actually, is like the parachute only opens when you jump. But if you're gonna make the leap, here's what you gotta do. I think everyone should start with maybe a side hustle. Test the waters, build some confidence while you're still collecting a paycheck, right? Like if you can find a way to use some of the experience and skills that you have, in your working world and turn that into something you can monetize outside without conflict of interest, great, go for it. Then ultimately you got to save also, like save some money to get ahead. And by that, I mean like have 6 to 12 months of expenses so you can fully focus on your business. Like if you're not saving money and then trying to jump in, you're going to be in trouble. Trust me, like you burn through savings real quick when you first start. I mentioned it before, but define your why. Get clear on your goals, on your values. It's going to help you keep grounded when the tough times come, because they will come. And also take imperfect action. See, I've known a lot of people who wanted everything to be perfect before they launched. And I tried to make sure everything was perfect at one point, and then that failed. So don't wait for the perfect plan. Just start and adjust as you go. You have to be able to pivot. Because the path to freedom isn't easy, but I can tell you it is worth every moment of uncertainty. I think that the world, our society, we'll call it, needs more unemployable people too. Because let's be honest, the world doesn't need more cubicle dwellers or corporate drones. It needs visionaries. It needs disruptors. It needs creators, people who refuse to settle for good enough. Unemployable people start businesses that create jobs and drive innovation. They challenge outdated systems and force industries to evolve. They inspire others to break free and pursue their own dreams. And by owning your unemployable nature, you're not just changing your life, you're changing the world and giving opportunities for others. Not everyone is meant to climb the corporate ladder. For many years, I would say almost 2 decades of my life, I was obsessed with climbing the corporate ladder. I eventually became a CEO of another person's company, and I can tell you, it wasn't worth it. To me, getting to the top, getting that opportunity to run another company might be great for some people, but for me, it wasn't. I wanted to run my own company. Some of us are meant to build the damn ladder ourselves, right? And, that's ultimately what I want to do. I wanted to build my own and grow my own way. I felt like I didn't belong in the 9-to-5 world. And when I left it, it was so clear to me that having been fired twice, that those companies were actually doing me the best service they possibly could have ever done by teaching me to be resilient, to show me that there's another way and that there is no such thing as loyalty. I had to stop trying to fit into a world where I didn't belong. I need to embrace being unemployable and fuel it for the freedom that I wanted. Like, I was not built to work in a cubicle. I was not built to take orders from other people that I didn't agree with. It wasn't for me. There's nothing wrong with being unemployable. Like I said, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Actually, I'm going to rephrase that. It's the best thing that ever happened for me. So if you are struggling, if you are unhappy and you want to do something, you have the power. Make yourself unemployable. Find a way to, start your own path, to go all in, and to, more importantly, live on your terms. All right, that's a wrap for today's dose of reality on the Chris Hanna Show. If you're fired up and ready to kick some serious ass, then I've done my job. But remember, knowledge without action is just wasted breath. So what are you going to do? Sit around and let opportunities pass you by? Or are you going to step up and take what's yours? The choice is yours, but don't expect sympathy if you choose the easy road. If you've got value from today's episode, smash that subscribe button, leave a review, or share it with somebody who needs a wake-up call. Don't keep this gold to yourself unless you're afraid of a little competition. Stay bold, stay hungry, and remember, always go all in. Until next time, this is Chris Hanna signing off. Now go out there and take what's yours.